Today, we delve into the life of a woman whose name is synonymous with power, beauty, and tragedy. Cleopatra, Egypt's last pharaoh and master of diplomacy. Forget the Hollywood stereotypes for a moment. The real Cleopatra was far more than a seductress. She was a brilliant scholar, a cunning politician, and a fiercely protective ruler who held the fate of a fading empire in her hands. In a world dominated by men, she commanded armies, negotiated with the most powerful leaders of her time, and used her intellect as her sharpest weapon. Her story is not just a romance, it's a high-stakes political thriller where one wrong move could mean the end of Egypt. So, how did this young queen rise to such heights, and what led to her dramatic downfall? Let's unravel the true story of Cleopatra VII. Born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek lineage that had ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years, Cleopatra was destined for the throne. But destiny alone doesn't secure power. From a young age, she was immersed in education. While many rulers of her dynasty never bothered to learn the local language, Cleopatra was a polyglot, reportedly speaking as many as 9 languages, including Egyptian. This wasn't just an academic pursuit, it was a political tool. By speaking to her people in their own tongue, she connected with them in a way her predecessors never had, earning their loyalty and solidifying her right to rule. She understood that power wasn't just about armies and gold. It was about culture, respect, and communication. Her mind was her greatest asset, and she was preparing to use it on the world's biggest stage, Rome. Her reign began in turmoil. At just 18, she ascended the throne with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. As was tradition, they were married, but this was no happy family. Court officials and advisors immediately began plotting against her, favoring her more easily manipulated brother. They saw a young woman and underestimated her. Big mistake. Forced into exile, Cleopatra didn't just accept defeat. She began raising a mercenary army, determined to reclaim her throne. It was during this civil war that a new, colossal power entered the Egyptian equation, Julius Caesar. He arrived in Alexandria not as a conqueror, but as a mediator, seeking to settle the dispute between Cleopatra and her brother. Cleopatra knew a face-to-face meeting was her only chance. The challenge: her brother's forces controlled the city. She couldn't just walk in. This is where one of history's most famous tales originates. According to the historian Plutarch, Cleopatra had herself smuggled into the palace, rolled up inside a carpet, or more accurately, a bedsacond, delivered directly to Caesar's private chambers. Imagine his surprise. This wasn't just a dramatic entrance. It was a calculated risk that showcased her audacity and unwavering determination. Caesar, a man who appreciated bold moves, was instantly captivated. But it wasn't just her daring spirit that impressed him. He found an intellectual equal. She could converse with him about politics, philosophy, and strategy, presenting a compelling case for why she, not her brother, was the rightful and more capable ruler of Egypt. She convinced him that a strong, stable Egypt under her rule was in Rome's best interest. Her gamble paid off. With Caesar's military backing, her brother's forces were defeated, and Cleopatra was firmly installed as Queen of Egypt. This alliance was both personal and political. Cleopatra and Caesar became lovers, and she gave birth to his only known biological son, Caesar. For Cleopatra, this was a masterful stroke of diplomacy. By linking her bloodline to Rome's most powerful man, she secured her position and the future of her dynasty. She even traveled to Rome, where her presence caused a sensation. The Romans were both fascinated and wary of this exotic, intelligent queen. She wasn't a submissive foreign ruler. She was an equal who walked with confidence in the heart of their empire. Her influence was so profound that Caesar even erected a golden statue of her in the Temple of Venus Genetrix, an unprecedented honor. But this power couple's reign was cut short. On the Ides of March in 44 BC, Julius Caesar was assassinated, and Rome plunged into chaos. Cleopatra's primary protector was gone, and she had to navigate a new, even more dangerous political landscape. With Caesar dead, his allies and enemies vied for control. The two main players to emerge were Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, and his most trusted general, Mark Antony. Antony took control of Rome's eastern provinces, which included Egypt. He summoned Cleopatra to Tarsus to answer for her loyalties. Once again, Cleopatra knew that the first impression was everything. Instead of arriving as a nervous subject, she staged an arrival of breathtaking spectacle. She sailed up the Kidness River in a magnificent golden barge with purple sails and silver oars, rowed by servants dressed as cupids. She herself was dressed as the goddess Venus, reclining under a golden canopy. Antony, who saw himself as the embodiment of the god Dionysus, was completely enchanted. He had expected a subordinate queen. Instead, he was met by a living goddess. Their meeting in Tarsus marked the beginning of another legendary alliance. Like Caesar, Antony was drawn to Cleopatra's intellect, her wit, and her political savvy. They spent the winter of 41 BC together in Alexandria, forming a bond that was, again, both deeply personal and strategically vital. For Antony, an alliance with Cleopatra gave him access to Egypt's immense wealth, resources, and naval power, crucial assets in his power struggle against Octavian. For Cleopatra, Antony was her new Roman shield, a protector for her kingdom and her children. Together, they envisioned a new Eastern Empire, a partnership of Rome and Egypt. They had 3 children, and Antony openly treated her as his wife. Despite already being married to Octavian's sister in Rome, this public rejection of his Roman family in favor of his Egyptian queen was a political misstep that Octavian would exploit masterfully. Back in Rome, Octavian launched a vicious propaganda campaign against the pair. He painted Antony as a man who had abandoned his Roman duties, bewitched by a foreign sorceress. He portrayed Cleopatra not as a capable ruler, but as a decadent and dangerous threat to Roman values. The narrative was clear. This was a war not just against Antony, but against the foreign queen who sought to rule them all. The tension culminated in the naval battle of Actium in 31 BC. The details of the battle are debated, but the outcome is not. The forces of Antony and Cleopatra were decisively defeated by Octavian's fleet. The couple fled back to Egypt, their dreams of an Eastern Empire shattered. Octavian's legions pursued them, and it was only a matter of time before Alexandria would fall. Knowing all was lost, Antony received a false report that Cleopatra had taken her own life. In despair, he fell on his sword. As he lay dying, he was carried to Cleopatra's mausoleum, where she had barricaded herself, and he died in her arms. It's a moment of pure Shakespearean tragedy. Shortly after, Octavian entered the city. He intended to capture Cleopatra and parade her through the streets of Rome as the ultimate prize of his victory. But Cleopatra would never allow herself to suffer such a humiliation. She had lived her life as a queen, and she was determined to die as one. According to the famous legend, she had an asp, a venomous snake, and a symbol of Egyptian royalty, smuggled to her in a basket of figs. She died from its bite, alongside her 2 most loyal handmaidens. With her death, the Ptolemaic dynasty, which had ruled for 3 centuries, came to an end. Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire, and her son, Caesarion, was executed by Octavian, eliminating the last direct link to Julius Caesar. Cleopatra's story didn't end with her death. Her legacy has been shaped and reshaped for over 2,000 years. Roman propaganda defined her for centuries, casting her as a manipulative seductress. But in reality, she was a formidable leader who used every tool at her disposal: her intellect, her cultural knowledge, her charm, and her strategic mind to defend her kingdom against the inexorable expansion of Rome. She was a mother fighting for her children as future, and a queen fighting for her people as sovereignty. She held off the most powerful empire in the world for over 2 decades, a testament to her incredible skill. Her life proves that history is often written by the victors, but the truth of a powerful figure, especially a powerful woman, can endure. Cleopatra was not just the last pharaoh of Egypt. She was a master of diplomacy, a cultural icon, and one of the most remarkable leaders in all of history. Thank you so much for joining us on Historic Icons to explore the incredible life of Cleopatra. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss our next episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Who is another historic icon you'd like us to cover? Let us know. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.